Wow, the camera can see my eyes through this mesh. That's impressive. And I'll tell you what else is impressive. This C5 ARGB from Antec. You know, the company has impressed me. Lately, they've come out with a lot of fairly modern and fairly affordable chassis, and this new C5 ARGB is no exception. It's not very tall, but it is very spacious. It can accommodate a ton of hardware, and it looks pretty darn cool. So in this video, we've partnered with Antec to highlight this case's features. We're gonna talk about some of the things that you might find in more expensive chassis in the market. Again, I think you're gonna be impressed with the price of this and what it offers. And then we're going to build in it. There's a really cool feature of this case that I wanna take full advantage of here, and I think it's gonna make for a very unique build. Are you ready? Stay with me. If you're planning your next PC build, then consider checking out our sponsor, VIP SCD Key. Their Windows 10 and 11 OEM keys sell for a fraction of retail and will unlock the full potential of your OS. They'll also remove those pesky activation watermarks. Click the links below to get started today, and be sure to use our special offer code SKGS for a sweet discount on a variety of options, including Windows 10 and 11, Pro and Home, and more. To kick things off, this is a dual chamber chassis. Again, not very tall, so it's not gonna have a traditional power supply basement, 7 PCI slots still at the rear, and support up top for up to, I believe, a 360mm AIO. So fans and radiator up there, which is nice. You could also mount them down below, but just mind the motherboard clearance issues. You can see we have 2 panes of tempered glass butted right up against each other here for a very clean aesthetic. You get plenty of airflow, not necessarily up front, of course, because you've got the glass, but you get it along the side of the motherboard tray through the right side panel, of course up top, down below, and out the rear. And to help things out, you get 7 included ARGB fans in this version of the C5, which is just nuts. I mean, any case that comes with like 3 or more fans that's an okay in my book, but 7, it's kind of too much, Antec. Like, I guess it doesn't hurt, you know, to have more airflow, but there's a lot. And because there's a lot of fans, there's a lot of cabling to mind as well. We'll get to that soon. So let's do a bit of quick math then. 7 ARGB PWM fans, mind you, in a chassis that costs $130 all in. So that's about 60 or 70 bucks for the fans, and another 60 or 70 bucks, depending on how you slice it, for the frame. That's a really good deal, especially when you compare it to cases like the Lianli O11 Mini and other smaller form factor dual chamber cases for sale today. Speaking of these fans, 6 of them are actually inverted. Notice that the fan blades themselves are turned inward to pull in air from the positions that they're currently in. So you'll get 3 intake fans at the bottom, and this will also look really good from an RGB standpoint because you won't have frames in the way like you would in a traditional fan. So 6 of these to intake, 1 exhaust next to the motherboard. That means you're gonna have a very nice positive pressure setup here. Great for cooling all around, and also great for aesthetics. Front panel is plentiful. Of course, a power button off to the far left. You're gonna need one of those, a hard drive LED next to it, and I believe a power LED above that. It's like you shove a SIM tray removal tool in there, it'll reset your whole system for you. Just kidding, don't do that. An LED button for case fans, I'm assuming. I think we have an integrated controller as well, so we'll be able to toggle that a bit once we get our system assembled. We have 2 USB 3.0 Type A ports, non-unified headphone and microphone jacks, and a Type C port that is oddly spaced way off here to the right. But the really cool thing about this case, in my opinion, is the fact that it actually supports rear pass-through motherboards. You'll see all these extra cutouts in the motherboard tray, and this is for those boards that have all of their connectors on the back side. If you saw our recent ASUS build, that BTF edition set of hardware had all of its connectors along the back side, and that allows for super clean cable routing. In fact, most of it's not even gonna be seen from this side, and that's exactly what we're gonna use for this case. We have it, so why not use it? Now, I'll be honest, because there are so many fans in here, which I'm not complaining about, it's actually really nice at this price point that we have so many, it does come with the side effect of having a ton of cables to manage, and we're actually gonna try to manage a lot of this stuff before we even throw other components in here. So like this strand of cables was just like a little tie strap here. We're gonna zip tie these all the way down beside these fans, try to keep them out of the way, because you can actually see these cables through the left side panel if they're just kind of chilling like that. Nobody wants that. And that is looking much better already. Give it a quick trimming. Now, since the Antec C5 supports up to 360mm radiators, we're going to use exactly that. This one actually includes its own unique contact frame, so we're working with that as we speak. Platform is now ready to go in. We've got to be a little careful here. We don't have much to hold on to. And It's gonna be a bit tight, but I think when it's all said and done, this rig is gonna look nice and filled. And I'm gonna be a little jelly of it, not gonna lie. And as expected, everything for this ASUS BTF board, all the connectors on the backside, just all lines up perfectly with this Antec case. Now, you would expect it to work with other ASUS cases, right? Not that ASUS is widely known for their cases, but of course Antec is, and so if you're in the market for one and you have BTF components, this C5 is perfect for it. This board is a bit blingy, so I'm actually going to remove this rear fan. We're still gonna have 3 exhausts though, again, through the radiator up top. Can you guys see my finger on that side? Here you go. Looking good, super clean with this hidden cable design so far. Now it's time to get the AIO in here. Slow and steady wins the race. You can see there is just enough room that Antec gave us for 360 mil. This looks really nice, and it's gonna look, again, so filled up when it's all said and done. Tightening down all of these Phillips screws, and down goes our magnetic dust filter. And the finishing touch, it's magnetic, clips on. Nice. Go big or go home, right? This is a Neo Eco 1000 watt modular power supply, perfect for our Antec case because it's an Antec product. And well, it's probably a bit overkill for this combination of hardware, but it doesn't hurt to just over prepare a bit. And with a 10-year baked-in warranty, I've got to say that's pretty ballsy. Now I've got to show you something because, well, we got lucky. If we hadn't chosen the motherboard that we did, it would be a tough time because we've taken up a lot of space up top with the AIO, which of course is great, but a consequence of that is that we really have like no access at all to connections that would otherwise be at the top there. So like your 8-pin EPS. Hey, how you doing? And yeah, just any other connectors up there are just gonna be totally choked off by a 360 mil or 240 mil AIO that you mount up top. We don't have to worry about that though, because we have the backside pass-through connectors on our board, which is super convenient. It's also great that Antec includes that support again in the C5. We really didn't expect this going into it. We just happened to notice and went with the punches. In she goes, fan side out. We actually have a perforated right panel. We'll show you when everything's all situated here. This will get plenty of breathing room. Now Raymond wouldn't admit this on camera, but he was a little doubtful of the cable management space in this chassis. He took one look at it and he's like, I don't know. Now I saw it, you know, I've been doing this for years. I knew there'd be enough, but I'm curious how shocked he'll be at how this looks. I've only spent about 5 minutes on it, and yeah, I just want to get your reaction live here. Oh, you're going that way. Okay, I thought you were gonna go this way with the camera. You know, we'll go the other way. It's probably a little safer that you go this way. It's pretty messy. Ignore that, please. I've just got one more thing here to cut. And yeah, what do you think, Raymond?
Oh wow, that's very clean.
Let's go ahead and show them what it looks like with this panel on. You can see the perforations on the right side, excellent airflow, of course, and yeah, that'll do it. Now, before we get our graphics card in here, that's actually the last thing to do. We're gonna clean this entire area up in about 10 seconds, at least 10 seconds for you guys. Here we go. Okay, Raymond, now you can stop filming. We are finished. This really does look better than I thought it would. Just so filled up, all this space up top, taken care of. The tubes, I mean, I know the tubes are kind of the standout sore thumb if we really want to be picky about it, but this case not only looks really good with modern hardware, but it also accommodates even some of the cutting edge stuff like ASUS's BTF, the Gigabyte, I think Gigabyte's is Project Stealth, MSI Project Zero components, where you just don't have to have any cable showing at all. Super cool. Now, I'm sure many of you have seen this card before on the channel. This is a super beefy ASUS ROG RTX 4090, and it just barely fits into the Antec C5. According to my calculations at least, we should have maybe a few centimeters right on the edge of this worth of buffer. And look at that, we do actually a little more than I thought we would. That is the icing on the cake. Now, the dimension I did not check was the depth of this card with respect to the case. I tell you though, if it'll fit this, it'll fit pretty much anything, as long as you're not also throwing in like custom loop gear or something. I think we are in the clear. It's like awfully tight, but it should connect. There we go. It took me a second, but that, oh jeez, This card, like, it almost comes out to the glass. It's gonna have plenty of airflow though. I'm not worried about that one bit with all 9 fans now that we have in here. It's just, there's something about the way that this build looks and the way that this card looks in this build, almost like they were made for each other. Pop this cover back on and one Phillips screw right there. It's time to fire up the system. I'm hoping it works. If it doesn't, then digging back through here is gonna be a bit annoying because I kind of just shoved everything admittedly behind a cable bar. So really crossing my fingers that doesn't happen. So far, so good. Auxiliary power. Boom. And I believe I've synced up all of the LED fans that come with the Antec C5 with the motherboard, but it looks like I can still pivot some things, so that's cool. It was really nice of Antec to include this subdued LED bar here. Of course, this syncs up with the fan, so you can cycle through really whatever you want. I noticed that whenever I hold this down, it looks like it resets to just a rainbow color there. But yeah, this is nice and subdued. It's not super bright or anything. In fact, the fans as well diffuse the light very well from the center. You don't have any noticeable blotches of light from individual LEDs themselves. So that's just another tasteful aesthetic thing that Antec has emphasized for this chassis. In case you're wondering, this D7 Dr. Debug code is just telling us that we don't have a keyboard connected. I think this also ties into the display. Same goes for the white LED above. That's the VGA light. I really love how we have dedicated cooling for this graphics card. I think it is so convenient that Antec have included inverted fans just stock out of the box with this version of the C5. Again, it's the C5 ARGB. And if you're interested, we'll have it linked below. For the price, I think it competes very healthily with a lot of other offerings from other big brands. And I'm just really impressed by how far Antec has come in such a short time in the modern case department. I want to show you what this build looks like with the left side panel installed there. Again, you get that flush glass to glass connection. And this is a fairly small dual chamber chassis. You get your power supply in the back, you get all your cable management in the back, you get fans pulling in or exhausting air, however you want to configure that, next to the motherboard. And you can actually fit 3 different sets of 360mm AIOs in here, is that right? One up top, of course, like we have here, one at the bottom, and even one along the side of the motherboard tray, all in a fairly cozy chassis. All in all, really happy with the way this one turned out, and we just kind of haphazardly picked parts that we thought would look nice. Again, really convenient. They support the reverse connectors on motherboards that a few manufacturers have been focusing on as of late. It just worked out of the box, and there were no issues with alignment or anything. Super nice there. And it's not gonna break the bank either. Again, we're gonna have this C5 ARGB in black linked below. We might even have a version, a white version linked as well. Remember, Antec has the larger C8 we've recently built in. They do have a C3 as well, which is a little more conventional in its shape, just like your typical mid-tower, but with some nice modern flair to it. I think we'll be able to show you a bit of that in upcoming videos as well. But this one's really nice. If you're looking for a more compact dual chamber case that doesn't compromise in the way of airflow, again, you get plenty of air from the side of the motherboard. Granted, it does have to make a 90-degree turn. You can still get plenty of it because you have 3 fans working over there. You get plenty of fresh air from below, and you can of course exhaust out the top and out the rear. You get that steady movement, no heat's gonna build up in here. We even have an AIO that actually pushes air onto the VRM MOSFET area too. So cooling for days, and that seems to be what everyone wants in a PC case nowadays. And the fact that it also doesn't cost an arm and a leg is a nice touch. If you guys enjoyed this one, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already as well, and consider sticking around for the next one. Anything else I want to say that they should consider? Consider checking out relevant links in the video description. Consider joining our public Discord. It's totally free to do. I was just thinking of Bill Nye. Consider the following. Do you remember that? Do you remember Bill Nye's little segment? It'd be like, consider the following. It'd be like his head rotating. You gotta pull it up for him.
Please consider the following.
Consider this conclusion. Thanks for building with me.